The engineers at Ford took the Ranger through a series of 4 extreme tests, pushing it to its limits and proving it's tough done smarter. This is the science of truck. A combination of heavy construction materials were selected for a test of load box durability and suspension strength. These will be dropped from a height of over 2.5 metres and hit the Ranger with over 1,500 kilograms of impact. That's like a cannonball hitting the load box at a speed of 82 kilometres an hour.
This is not something that we do every day. This is quite extreme.
The Ranger absorbs it, distributing the force through the chassis, down the suspension and into the tyres.
For the Ranger, what's unique about them is that the cross members runs up the sidewall.
3 U-shaped cross members give the load box its exceptional strength. These are then connected to the frame using Ford's unique smart mounts that disperse the force evenly through the vehicle. And straight away, we hit again.
We've still got more to go.
This final drop could seriously damage a lesser truck.
That's abuse.
To absorb the blow, the Ranger's bed and suspension work together as one piece. And after that, we add even more load to reach its maximum capacity. After taking all this punishment, the Ranger drives away fully loaded. Mud and ruts are no problem, proving it's tough done smarter. The engineers at Ford took the Ranger through a series of 4 extreme tests, pushing it to its limits and proving it's tough done smarter. This is the science of truck. The Ranger is built to perform in challenging jobs, just like this. So the engineers at Ford came here to test its unique tow bar design, torque and 3,500 kilo pulling power. The challenge? Drag a quarry haul of rocks uphill in 1 working day.
Today, the plan is to use the sled that we've got there on the back of the Ranger. We're going to fill it out with 1 tonne of the rock from this quarry, and then we're going to drag it up an 8% grade.
The intense force between the sled and the Ranger will be measured by an industrial-grade load cell installed on the hitch. To escalate the challenge, we're pulling the rocks in a sled instead of a trailer.
There's a lot of friction, it takes a big breakaway force to get it going.
The Ranger has no choice but to put it in 4 low, with all the traction and torque it's got. The load force skyrockets to over 1,400 kilos, with the steep incline tripling the torque demand for the haul. 12 bolts reinforce the tow bar, a unique design that distributes the energy throughout the chassis. The Ranger dumps the rocks at the top of the quarry and races back down to get another full load. Then the conditions of the test change. A less capable truck may not get the job done.
Once it sees that it's getting wheel slip, it will turn on the traction control and it will start to put brakes across the wheels to make sure it gets permanent torque through to the area where it needs it.
It never slows down, never takes a break. We like to call it tough done smarter. The engineers reported that the Ranger's pulling power hauled twice as much rock as they anticipated. Not bad for a day's work. The engineers at Ford took the Ranger through a series of 4 extreme tests, pushing it to its limits and proving it's tough done smarter. This is the science of truck. The Ranger is built to take on harsh conditions. To prove it, the Ford engineers are here at this test facility to show how the Ranger's smart design delivers outstanding weighting capabilities.
Today we're going to take the Ranger through 200 millimetres of water at high speed. Then we're going to take the water level up to 800. 200 doesn't sound like a lot of water, but at that speed it's going to be like a hydraulic hammer.
Hitting unseen water at 25 kilometres per hour can damage a vehicle that's not built for water weighting. That's why the front end of the Ranger was designed to disperse the force of the water, keeping the wheels on the ground and the driver in control.
Above this guard is where we've actually got the air intake. This is what makes this car breathe. The alternator was brought up. We've moved electrical components high up in the engine bay again. It's been designed to be tough.
The Ranger's smart aerodynamics works like a ship's hull, forming a bow wave that spreads the water away from the air intake as the truck cruises.
With a Ranger, we only call it a pass if we can do it at max payload.
The engineers could be calling it a day, but they're not quite satisfied.
So I'd like to back it in and let it idle in the water for an hour. So that's something that we've never done before.
Once again, the Ranger slips into the 800 millimetre depth, but this time for more than just a crossing.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy. We've got all sealed connectors that are watertight. We don't want water getting in there, otherwise there'll be pistons everywhere. The fog lamps would have been sitting down the bottom there. High intensity, still working.
The Ranger's elevated air intake keeps the engine idling normally.
That's 2 hours. 2 hours. Yeah, it's amazing.
Our engineers think ahead. So when it comes to the extreme conditions, the Ranger performs. That's what we like to call tough, done smarter. The engineers at Ford took the Ranger through a series of 4 extreme tests, pushing it to its limits and proving it's tough, done smarter. This is the science of truck. Heat, humidity, tough terrain and heavy load. These are the elements that stress an engine the most. But the Ranger is built to overcome all of them. To prove it, the Ford engineers will put the Ranger through 24 hours of extreme conditions.
Let's get it going.
To survive these cruel 24 hours, the Ranger will need all its unique engineering to manage the stress. Its torque, smart heat management and 4x4 capability will all be pushed to get through this grueling track.
Here in Thailand, right on the Burmese border, we are on site to test the durability and endurance of the Ford Ranger. The course we're going to put the Ranger through is running up through the jungle. Within the course, we've got a very harsh 20% unsealed grade. There's going to be potholes, there's going to be ruts, there's going to be a lot of load going through the chassis. Heat from the engine, the transmission, the transfer case, the differential. All of these things are going to be working hard. We'll be pumping 40 degrees C this afternoon, with probably 70 to 90% humidity.
Strategic pit stops occur to change drivers and stiffen up the challenge. The load was added right when the temperature and humidity were reaching their peak for the day. That's when the Ranger's uniquely built cooling system helps to overcome the harsh environment.
We've been monitoring the top tank temperature, which is the coolant that cools the engine down. We've now raised the centre of gravity. We're actually going to get a big swinging motion as we take the bends throughout this winding course as we go through the jungle.
With its payload and steep inclines, the RPM increases. And just when lesser trucks could start to overheat, the aerodynamics of the front grille ensure enough airflow through the cooling pack, keeping the engine bay cool.
We've just gone 536 kilometres. Now we're just about to do our first run with a trailer. 1.5 tonne has just been put onto the back of this Ranger.
Now that the sun has set, the temperature drops, but the engineers don't want the nighttime conditions to be easier. Time to add more weight to the truck and take the engine stress higher. From now on, the Ranger's engine will carry a combined mass of 6 tonne through the jungle until the end of the test.
40 minutes away from running this truck for 24 hours. Feedback we're getting from the drivers has been outstanding.
I like the fact that even when you're going up the hill, it's just smooth all the way up. It's just a steady climb.
The Ranger proves that it's tough enough to reach its maximum combined mass of 6 tonne. It's also smartly built to do it without overstressing the engine.
Just under 940 kilometres. You can hear the Ranger there, still running. So it just shows that this truck is very, very capable. It's very, very durable. It's just tough done smarter.
The engineers at Ford created a unique test of strength to prove the Ranger is tough, done smarter. This is the science of truck. To put Ranger's steel spine to the test, we hooked up 600 kilos of mass, and then our engineers took it for a spin. Generating 4.7 Gs of opposing forces, we tried to push and pull Ranger to its limits. Ranger's core strength and legendary towing capacity comes from the design and construction of its frame. The 12-bolt tow bar is designed to distribute energy evenly along the frame, and the tow hitch, which initially takes the brunt of the force, has fewer components and a continuous weld for fewer weak points. Precision crafted for optimal durability and torsional strength, 8 different kinds of steel are used, each chosen for either its hardness or flexibility. Ranger's smart design once again allows us to go to the next level, where even 4.7 Gs of constant force isn't enough to break it, proving that Ranger is tough, done smarter. The engineers at Ford created a series of brutal tests of performance to prove the Ford Ranger is tough, done smarter. This is the science of truck. Towing 2,000 kilos uphill is tough. To do it backwards, you need something extra. You need smart. Ranger's hill launch assist is so smart, it also works in reverse, helping to prevent the Ranger from rolling down as it drives up. Traction control now kicks in. Sensors individually monitor each wheel for speed and slip, automatically braking or increasing torque to help maximize grip and avoid loss of power from wheel spin. Time to raise the stakes and the incline. The ultimate vertical challenge, a 45-degree climb with nearly a ton of payload on board. The resistance generated here is similar to pulling a second Ranger up the hill, but Ranger's transmission maintains more than enough torque to complete the task. Loss in oil pressure at this angle would be a disaster, but the Ranger's oil pickup system keeps it running smoothly, even on this extreme grade. Once again, these brutal tests are no match for Ranger. Across dirt, water and mountain, This truck is tough done smarter. What happens when you drop a pile of bricks into the back of a moving truck? Let's find out as we put the Ford Ranger through yet another brutal test, going even further to prove that Ranger is simply tough done smart. This is the science of truck. In this experiment, our engineers put Ranger's adaptive handling technologies to their ultimate test. First up, let's see how Ranger handles a sudden and dramatic change in load. A sudden load change like this could create a potentially unpredictable situation. Ranger's adaptive load control is designed to kick in and trigger a network of communications that calculate the Ranger's weight and load position. If sensors detect a sudden load change, they alert the control system to what's happening and adjust the dynamic stability control. Next up, we continue to push Ranger to the limits. As the driving dynamics change, the load itself or unexpected evasive driving actions make it more prone to roll and sway. But Ranger's rollover mitigation can help to manage the excessive rotational movement. If the steering sensors detect a risk of the vehicle rolling, the brakes are automatically applied to selected wheels, helping Ranger to maintain traction. The Ranger is designed to respond quickly and confidently whenever the conditions change, because that's tough done smart.
This is Field Test, Malaysia.
My name is Ira, and today I challenged the Ranger to get to a camping site somewhere near Kota Belud. 2 years ago, I attempted the same route. I couldn't make it because terrains were full of uphills, downhills, very rocky. The surface was very uneven, and we had a lot of rivers to cross as well. So with the vehicle that I used, it just wasn't possible.
Oke, kita sekarang berada di sini.
Okay.
Ya, terus tuh.
When you are trying to do water crossing during off-roading, the best thing to do is to actually stop your vehicle before, for example, a river, and go down and make sure that you know how deep the river is. Other advice that I would give people driving off-road is also to check ahead of you. You drive where you can see. For example, recognize your obstacle. You need to know what your car can or can't do. There are a lot of features in the Ranger which I truly enjoyed. The suspension, going through the rocky terrains, the gravel, I felt the car was very stable. I really enjoyed driving the Ranger, and I was able to get to the campsite where I didn't a few years ago, and to be honest, that felt really good.